So at this stage where we are, we actually working with Ben. He's a ex-military and Geoff student, and then he's get really onto it. Is it for doing some mapping system? So there is some of the base technology when you can have a raw data. It is LiDAR is one of it, and then the other one is a double satellite. What's the name of the tool?
Grace.
Grace.
We could play the Grace video if you haven't. Anybody seen Grace? The Grace NASA video? It's very short. It just opens your mind that, oh wow, you're doing that? Like that's in our maps. So we have a layer for wet and dry, and that's Grace data. It's always Ben's ability to translate it into permaculture usable maps. Like you can take LiDAR and download it. It's pretty neat, but it's pretty useless for you actually. It's okay. It's all right. It's interesting, but it's not permaculture designer friendly. So I've worked for 7 years with this guy, refining maps to make them more useful to me. I imagine if they're useful to me, they're useful to you, right? And it's a wonderful thing, you know. Like I never thought I'd be working kind of as a cartographer consultant. You know, I'm advising a map expert, and our work has been displayed in ESRI, which is the Mapping Association of America. That's quite a prize, you know, to say your maps have been used by you know, one of the biggest mapping organizations in America.
So everyone has access to that. Like I could pay for a year for Ben's website, and I can use his tools, or how
you can pay Ben to make you maps if you want.
Okay, so
if you want to do what Ben does, strap into a big course, because we're not teaching it yet. We'd like to teach it, but that's a geeky course. I can tell you, you're going to be quite a computer geek if you can do it. I'm learning to do a variation of it. There's another level here. I'm learning to use Affinity, which is our mapping software, so that I can show you what I do on film. I'm making a whole new. I've got, and you don't need to get this. I've got a BenQ. I've just got it, latest edition BenQ interactive whiteboard, 86 inch. It's huge. It's in my office, my studio, and I'm going to make movies with a conference camera looking at me. I'm looking straight at the camera, and my normal studio camera looking at me behind, and I'm going to show you why I design the way I design on a great big interactive whiteboard. And I've got to learn to use the mapping program to do it, which I've already shown you a little bit of it the other day. If you want to be a mapper, right, then you have to study with someone like Ben, and we haven't developed a course yet. Because this is new, this is state-of-the-art tech. For permaculture, this is state-of-the-art tech. Obviously the military have been using it forever, and other people have been using it. NASA's been using it forever. It's typical permaculture where we take something like a bulldozer, which is often destructive, and make a creative fish pond. I've taken what was like really weaponry technology and turned it into the greater good. And not everybody's doing it. Now, I had a word with what's the guy in Oregon? Andrew Millison. I had a word, well actually I did it live when he was interviewing me on a podcast, and he put me on the spot and said, what would you do if you could rule the world? What would be the first thing you'd do? And I said, the first thing I'd do is I'd get the whole world LiDAR, and I'd get people like Ben training people so that we could do this, and it was live, you know, and he went, wow. Then Andrew started using my map. So Andrew and I both use Ben. Other people in the permaculture movement haven't necessarily jumped on. I've had this so many times in my permaculture career. Geoff's doing something crazy again, and like it's probably not going to work, and he's an idiot, and he's just like, people attack me for being a frontliner and doing something new. And then they all do it later if I get it. Well, they'd see if I get it to work, and then they go, oh, he did it, well, we better do it as well, you know. I'm hoping everybody's going to jump on. And they'll do it wrong, and they'll do it right. You know, people copy my online course, cool. That's cool. The more people copy what I do, the better. If it works, do it. I don't care. And it's kind of, I'm at that front edge. I'm always seem to be trying to do something, like a ground break. They call me a fire lighter. I get out there and light fires and see if they burn.
And what about beginners? So if you don't want to be a mapper, but you would like to see your little plots, the little water reserves and such, who would you turn to?
Guys, if you need an architect in this room, don't go to architectural college to design your house. See this lady over here, right? If you're in Hungary, right, what would you do? Would you go to architectural college because you need to design a house? No, you go to an architect. Yeah. If you need a map, go to someone who can do the map. So go to Ben. I'm trying to keep the damn guy alive. I'm literally trying to keep the guy alive. Financially, I know how stressed he is. I'm literally this wonderful gentleman here has helped me keep him alive. We've funneling work to him just to keep this guy alive.
Yep.
And he's in a planetary saving position, in my opinion. He's the guy in the spacecraft right now, right? You know, nobody quite yet conceives and understands what we're talking about. My advice to you, if you want you to see what we're just about to show you about this site, if your mind is open to see design and see the possibilities, it's there. But you need someone who can do this, and like, you don't need to drive a bulldozer. Nobody here needs to drive a bulldozer. I can't drive a bulldozer. I can get in and go up and down with it. I can't dig with it. My wife and daughter do it better than me. I've got more important things to do than learn to be an architect. I can understand.
Or a mapper.
Or a mapper. Or a bulldozer driver. This is your red line. Where's your line? Draw your line.
Just the webpage to that, please.
Pearl River Eco Design. It's going to come up on all the maps.
Yeah.
Pearl River Eco Design. Ben Mistover.
Pearl River or Paul River?
Pearl. It's
River.
a place. It's a town. Pearl River is in Mississippi, right next to the Louisiana border, on the Gulf of Mexico, just inland. Pearl River Eco Design. Ben Mistover. He's just a student of mine from an online course. It's always your students get you in trouble.
No.
Look at this guy. What am I doing in Hungary?
What do you mean? What do you mean trouble?
And Ben just got in touch with me. He actually, I remember him asking a question on one of my live Q&As on my online course, and he said, if it was the end of the world, I'd rather be with Geoff Lawton than with MacGyver. And I remember that statement, and I said, no, MacGyver was my son's favourite program when he was growing up, right? You know. And then later on, this same guy contacted me and said, oh, I've done these maps as Form. I thought you might like to look at them. And I just went, what the hell? Like, I know this place, I know the map, I know the property. And he sent me this map that blew my mind. I was on Skype with him within an hour. Within an hour, I was going, who was this? Where did this guy come from? He's one of my students. Oh my goodness, where's his connections? Bang, I'm talking to him. Hi Ben, you sent me this map. We need to work together. We need to work together right now. Tell me what else you can do. And we just got in a hot conversation, and we've been talking ever since, 7 years. And literally, he's nearly broke. He's working so many hours to perfect this. We are also working on an AI app. To give you design.
Okay, so what he been created, it is 6 different layers of a map. Yeah, I will send you I show you his website. But just back to this place a little bit without a Ben. When I arrived in terrain, I've been working dryland, trying to go in deeper and deeper desert, and at the end of it, if you don't recover it. So water management is very, 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 very sensitive and very, very crucial for me. So when I arrived in terrain, I went into middle of the town and I checked out all of the ridge. You know ridge? Somebody don't know valley and ridge? Ridge, valley, you know? So I checked all of the ridge, and then I said I want to be in the map all of the possibility and every drop of water which is gonna affecting this valley. So we mapped out first is 72 square kilometer, and after we extended a little bit for 90. So this line what you can see in here, that is 92 square kilometer or 91 square kilometer.
I just sorry to interject, but I just want to tell you something about this. The scale of application over the area is exponentially cheaper in relation to the residents in the map. And what is not yet realised, and I have put this on film, if you do one property, the cost of that map is incredibly high compared to if we do the whole bioregion and everybody in the bioregion shares the price of the map. So for one person, one property, it might be $1,500 American for that map. For everybody in this map, if we shared the cost, it would be $5. Yeah? So if you can translate the value of the map to the local community,
Your neighbors or your council.
everybody in that catchment, right? And we do the whole catchment. Yes, it's a $10,000 map or it's a $5,000 map, but the cost per share per landowner is nothing to the value of what you're now getting. That's what we're trying to say to communities everywhere. Look, we do the whole damn thing. The cost per household is incredible. And now we, the community, know how we should behave in that catchment because of the slope map and other things.
So, and he did his own mapping system, and I asked him, can you do me another program which is can run in application, so in app, and he created that for me. It's a hive, what we call, but there is layers and layers in it. And what's allowed me to measure in 3D as well, not just 2D. So actually when I go across the landscape, the 1 hectare, the surface area is not 1 hectare when they're hills, it's much more. So he's allowed me to measuring actually the surface area. In this case I can know how much trees can fit in or how much ground cover seeds or what can be expected. So the layer what we're doing, we have the known property, we have a town replacement, but I'm gonna start with the watershed because that's what you must start in. So I did the watershed first. So this is the 72 square kilometer, which is all of the ridge. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So all of the ridge is like that. So every single drop of water which is above in, this is a small lake here, above here, it is actually going through in that stream. Now I'm changing the stream, so the stream is come down and then I bring it up and we're making it another interesting stuff. Yep.
Sorry, just a quick question. Could you talk about how you've actually identified the watershed and kind of got the boundary from that?
Yeah.
Because that's
I
quite an important
stand in the middle of my town.
Yep.
And I watched all of my ridge, and I told Ben I want to know everything which is falling into that watershed.
So is that the best way of usually doing it, by physically kind of
Well,
being there, or
this side of the ridge is gonna fall this way, other side of the ridge is falling outside.
Yeah.
Water
So
only moves at right angle to contours, so if you just look at the contours, you can see it.
So you don't need to be on site necessarily. You can just do it all on the map.
Actually, we've got a program we could just slip in if you want.
Yeah.
It'll just automate it if you want.
He do this, and like I said, like I need all of the watershed. He bang, he just threw it up, and so that was one. One layers, and then the other layers what I give it to him, it's actually I give him the town layout. So actually all of the legal boundaries is here. So that's the lake, that's where we're digging now. This is the farm where you standing in somewhere here, and this is the next where is all of the fruit trees. There's the grazing pattern, and that's the big dam. That's what I said, the stream is coming here, and from this level and that level is the same, the overflow is nearly 1 kilometer long. So I have the level of water into the field because there's a dam there. Or anyway, there was another layer for the town replacement, and I asked him for do me the own property. So this is the property where I'm on it. There is 13 hectares here. There is a little bit of mosaic in there. There is a forest above here. This is what I own. This is this place, and above the forest, I own all of above the lakes. And now I bought it in for couple of other here. So that's another interesting. But if you put all of the layer together, it's gonna be a lot. So you need a stop it. you need a program which can help you to take off and on the layers, and of course all of the contour line it came up, and start from the contour line you have the latitude map, is it? So this color, it is the
altitude.
Yeah. So there is the lake, and this color is telling you there is a more towards to the red, it's higher, and a towards to the blue, it's gonna be the lower part of it, and that's one of it. What you wanna talk anything on that?
And that's your normal geography textbook, which we all probably know, right? And then the next one is wet dry. You're going to do wet dry.
Yeah, wet dry. So
switch the other layer. Oh yeah, that's Grace. That's the NASA Grace data.
Now this is what's normally you cannot have it from Google or any other thing. So they're telling you which part of the land actually wet and which part is dry. Oh, what you looking? It's somewhere there. So the red is very dry, and then relating to this, actually you can pick it up which plant can survive or not, which is a possibility. But also they're telling you for which part you need to be supported a little bit by water and which part need to be drained on. So it is not just about the condition of the land, it's a possibility or a direction to how you harmonize a different condition on the land.
Sorry, would you mind zooming in to where you're digging right now? Like just
Yeah.
to see what you would find out?
Yeah. And that's wet. The only marking out the very dry part, so that ridge which is just in the front, if here is dry, you can see there is the forest here, they're wet. There under water layers here. So LiDAR can see under.
You can see the aquifers actually. You see the
You can
shallow
see the
aquifers.
aquifer
We'll show you a
without
video of what it is.
It's pretty
Only been
funny.
available for about 3 years. They only released it like in the last 3 years to the general public.
So you know actually all of the water line, that's not on the top surface, and this is not on the top surface. When we done last year, we just put up a dam wall here. Bang.
It's the
And that's
dampness
it.
under the ground.
This is also the fauna, the vegetation. So the water volume in the vegetation.
It's seen through the vegetation into the soil moisture. So it may be the soil moisture held by the vegetation root layer.
Yeah.
That's what that forest would be there.
Indirect, you can see the vegetation.
Well, you can see the vegetation anyway, because we got
Okay.
other. We got
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Have
the
satellite
streamline, the
photos.
streamline which is unvisible underground, his program is calculated through to the geographic.
Yeah.
So he's seeing for how much is the soil and then the wetness on that, but also they're seeing the bones of the earth, so the
Yeah.
geographic, and that's telling you for where is this line, there is the fish pond here, that's where the top fish pond, that's where the well. So this is the key point. You can see that water come here, water come here, water come all of from here. That's where they put the well.
Can
The
you
big
zoom
well.
in on that, on the top fish ponds?
The top fish pond is here.
Yeah, can you zoom in a bit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Isn't the altitude map telling you most of that as well? Because if it's higher,
You
then it's
can
drier,
guess on that,
and if it's
but
lower,
this
then
is
it's
the
gonna be
final tune. This is what
Yeah.
Geoff said, that people don't understand how much the value if you have all of this layer, because you can actually micro tuning this and then doing more specific job even when you're out there. And this the crazy things for the technology, you cannot know that when you're out there. You know, it's not possible I gonna checking out for which is wet and dry and every day in a season, but this program actually put it together. So some of the things you cannot really do it physically out there because the size of the land, because the timing, because the season and blah blah blah, and because it's invisible. You don't see this stream, you see it now. But if you come back in the middle of the summer, this is not there.
But is that an average state, or is it a momentary shot?
That's a momentary shot, but if you go GRACE data over years, the first GRACE mission went up in 2012, came down in 2016, went back up again, down in 2018. 2018 has been up and still is up. It's 2 satellites running parallel, measuring the world's magnetic field at 2 different angles, running a polar orbit, north-south pole, changing longitude every orbit, right? They're seeing changing data over that period. So we're seeing aquifers going dry. We're seeing the Okavana Delta in Africa getting wet. They've done an analysis. Is it climate change? Is it seasonal weather? Or is it human activity? So I'll show you the video on this. That's what they're using GRACE for, right? It stands for Gravitational Research Appliance something or other. It's an acronym. So it's been so successful for people to judge what are we doing to the world in water and aquifer recharge and non-recharge or depletion. That's what they're using it for. We're using it to design, as usual. But we're using it for something else. Like, that's quite normal, you know, that we're not using bulldozers for what most people use bulldozers for. We're not using GRACE for what most people use GRACE for. But of course, if GRACE stays up, if they keep funding it, we will see our areas wet up, or not wet up, if we're getting it wrong. We will see the response over time, because yes, it is just a snapshot, but if you keep taking that snapshot, it's like I can fly you around the world on Google Earth, which has got a history button on it, and I can show you my project screening up, because some of my projects are easily big enough to see on Google Earth. Right? So I've been doing this long enough that my early projects, you can see them evolve and disappear under trees, some of them.
Just a piece of information I missed in the beginning is this what GRACE is doing? Is it like all of Hungary mapped? Is that like
No,
is
not
all,
63% in LiDAR now, it's mapped, and they'll keep doing it.
It's probably GRACE shot, but does it go with LiDAR? Because for us, we need, it's GRACE on its own is not so useful to us. GRACE over LiDAR. You see, LiDAR is your base, and it's accurate within 50 mil, horizontal and vertical. For a farmer, that's fine, right? And a bulldozer, that's absolutely fine. Now the layers add up the picture that we can reconfirm what we're doing. This is challenging this is going to challenge your design mind, because we're moving into another thing here, right? Like, this is, Bill would never have even understood what we're talking about. Of course. I predate computers, right? You know, I never had a mobile phone, you know, like that's till 2003.
This map we're looking at now is from Ben as well?
Yeah.
From the Pearl River.
Yeah.
Is the Hive linked to the Pearl River, or are they 2 different websites?
He
Hive
did this.
is where you are now. We call the place as a hive.
Okay, so this website is basically
Welcome
just
to the hive.
This is Istefan's head and Ben's head, not my head.
No,
together.
it's like the Permaculture Research Institution.
Oh, I see.
It's called Zaytuna Farm, but they have the name as Zaytuna Farm. When we was Noor and us thinking, what's the function gonna be here? We really want to inoculate people and help people. So this is kind of, and then we're functioning, trying to taking the model from the bees for functioning as a hive. So people actually doing micro business. The guy is gonna learn, and the machinery that can take some consulting with. I give them a micro business, and then still supporting the base, but they're doing their own business. And they're gonna start to be milking the cattle when they're the new calf born. That's gonna be her micro business. It's her cattle. Same as the nursery. So we're trying to actually grow the hive in this way. That's the function of this plant. So the hive is its mean, and then you can see 3 basic things in it. There's the Geoff is the Permaculture Sustainable Consulting up there. That's us is a Permaculture Resource Island, and this is Ben. So the 3 logo is there, bring you into the web page. So that is actually open source. But let's drive back a little bit onto the ground here, not the kind of that is a strategy of the center. So this is physically telling you for a condition right now, and then we're trying to harmonize because everything is want to be harmony in the, and balance in the nature. So we're trying to do job which is help to which is very dry, is make it more water catchment, more water storage there, which is very wet. We use it for growing up more biomass or draining to somewhere else.
You're not going on to. You're going on to the. You're going to go through these layers before we go to the.
Yeah. So that's wet and dry. Okay, and there is another one. Is ruggedness. Maybe I'll let you.
Do slope first.
Okay, so that's we have a slope.
Have you got slope with trees? No.
No, I do aspect. No, first.
Aspect, yeah.
Yeah, so we have an aspect. There's three things in your life which is very important. It's water, it's energy, and a life is a soil. So that three things is creating your ecosystem. And the energies come from the sunlight. So how we relating into the sunlight is crucial for our permaculture design. So he created a map which is coloring up to you for what is your facing.
You haven't got the compass on there, have you?
It's always north up.
Yeah.
It's north up.
Sometimes when we keep putting different keys on, so we have a compass.
So this one actually, it is telling you, I'm gonna show you that this is the kind of little thing, so which telling you as a
You're
slope.
in ruggedness. You're in slope.
They don't have the sunlight icons.
Aspect, yeah. We normally
Aspect.
we
But
changed.
the yellow one in this one is the yellow one is the more sunny. So salt is down here, and north is the red, and then the blue is gonna be a north facing. So they're telling you for actually most of this hill what you just see from the center where you are, we are in here. Actually in here. So all of this is a south facing slope. But
So you lay that over slope, you lay that over terrain and different things, and you realise we got sun here. We haven't got sun there. You don't want to try and grow a veggie garden over there, or an orchard so much. If you do orchard over there, you want something that's like so cold.
cherry.
I mean, you only have to walk out this morning, and it was sunny, and where it was shady, it was still frosty, and when the sun was out, the frost had gone. It was very obvious this morning to see frost and no frost, just with shade and no shade. So, but you can't see that every day. But this just gives you sunshade. That lays over your slope, and you start to get more and more definition of that's a good spot for a number of reasons.
And you can put your layer in it. I put the town replacement just on, so you can see this is our shed, this is the kitchen, this is an animal shed, and we're standing somewhere here in that corner. That's sunny. If you look out, it's sunny. That's where we're digging here. It's a very good sunny spot.
Because of the contour lines, how much can you zoom in? Like the distance between them? Because these are really
This is 2.5.
2.5 meters.
That's 2.5 meter, yeah.
Vertical height.
Yeah.
You can come down to 1 meter, and you can come down to 1/5 of a meter, but you wouldn't be able to see the bloody map. It'd all be lines at this stage. If it was an urban block of land, we could go 1/5 of a meter if you want. But if you put too many contours on, you can't see it. It's all lines. So this is a large map, 73 square
I have more
kilometers.
details, which is actually I asked him to do. I think it's 0.5 meter or 30 centimeter. But in this case, it doesn't really matter. Don't get lost on the contour line. They orientate you, but the main thing you're gonna go out. After a meter or 0.5 meter, you're gonna go out and then use the laser and then physically start to do it, because my bed is a little bit changing. You can't see everything from the.
What's this name?
It's the old one.
Why did you say that?
Puszta Kiskér. You must know Hungarian is the second hard language on the world. We have
Puszta
48 letters on the 42 letters on the alphabet.
What does that
this
mean?
is- Huh?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Somebody answered that. Hungarians.
Puszta, it is flat land. Diamant része.
Kér.
Kiskér.
Kiskér.
Kish means small.
Doesn't make sense. Don't.
Got nothing to do with cats.
No.
No, not pussycat. No.
No.
No. By the way, if you hear me on the phone, I saying pussy, 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 pussy. Don't worry, that's just kiss in Hungarians. And when I say fuck, 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 I'm not out of my head. It's fa is a trees, fuck is the trees. I was in Jordan and organizing the community tree planting event, and then I was up and down, and the student was just seeing me. She's out of his mind. I just said, fuck, fuck, fuck this, fuck that, fuck that. And then I said, I put down the phone. I see everyone. Is, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, why? Like fuck. Even a wooden spoon. It's called the fuck canal. It's called the fuck canal. Fucking hell. A wooden spoon. So the other things was happened in Jordan, and then I said, is it pussy, pussy, pussy? And then who you talking? And your sister. Your sister.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like his kid. His kid is like a, anyway. Sun orientating map, and then the next one is slope. So I take down the down replacement. Don't confuse us. So this color, it's actually the greenest it is.
Dark green is really flat.
So the dark green is the
0 to 2 is the dark green. Now you should have a scale there somewhere. You had it up before.
Actually, it's just tones the contour lines that you see it in color.
Oh, kind of.
it's nothing to do with the contour line. Or they're relating a little bit, but it's some of the slope. There is actually there is the color.
So there's 0 to 2, which is almost dead flat. You can't even see it. 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 12, 12 to 18, and 18 all the way to 90. So globally, the 18 degrees is considered should be always left in forest, never touched. So I got this idea from the lowest plateau, when work John D. Liu documented in China, where they just literally designed the landscape around degrees of slope and land use, which is so simplistically obvious, you know. So I divided it. They only allowed crops on that. They only allowed crops and trees on this as long as you had erosion control. They only allowed trees on here if you had absolute erosion control. That was only farm forestry, and from there on it had to be biosphere reserve, untouched forever. And it worked with a few other water features, not as complicated as our water features. But then we realised there's also something we need, having worked that. That was the first map I created with Ben, that idea. Then we realised, hey, there's something else that happens sometimes, ruggedness. Yeah, you can have slope. You can have slope with rocks sticking out of it everywhere. And then you get people to go, oh, but you said that was okay, but when we went in there, it was all lumpy and bumpy, or it's slip country that's all strange. And so, oh, we need another map. We need a map called ruggedness. So we have slope. A lot of people can't see the subtle difference between slope and ruggedness. And now we have slope with trees and without. So we fade in the satellite photograph with the slope, because sometimes trees are already there. And you don't want to take trees out to put a garden in necessarily. So
Yeah,
it's like,
this map is shocking farmers. When I redesigning farmers' land, and somebody don't have money and financially very in a critical stage, and I said, okay, I design your farm, but if you make more profitable, you will pay me whatever is my consulting. And when I get this map and then I showing you, you're not supposed to be actually going with the tractor in this land. You're supposed to be do some trees. You're not supposed to be grazing in this land because more possibility to cropping, or other way around. They're actually just shocked for, okay, wow, how do you know that? And it's like very simple. It is a grease, so you're gonna be fall down with the tractor or not. You can use energy. this place, the yellow one, if you start to grazing, the animal is burning more calories to walk on this, how much they can eat. So
And
if
the
you want
land
to-
shows you afterwards.
if
The
you want
land's
to be-
damaged.
Yeah, if you want to be train your animals to be skinny and very hard and strong, you graze in that land. But if you want to make it fatted up or make it very, you need to be put it into the light blue or the light green.
All of a sudden, it feels like I'm speaking Hungarian. You can understand what I'm saying. It's like suddenly I'm speaking a language you can understand through the map. It's like a translation of what I can see in the landscape. It's like my client suddenly went, oh yeah, I could walk them out there on the land all day. They wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But just show them that map and explain how it works. And suddenly it's translated into, oh, that's why we would do that. You know, it's like, wow, that's just saved me so much work. You know, just quickly I can explain stuff. You know?
So that's the ruggedness, huh? When I explain
Yeah.
it to you. So you can see
It's good to put, if you've got the layers, it's good to put the ruggedness over the slope
Here we go.
and then opaque one. If you've got opacity, you can make the layer on top see through to the layer underneath. You can only do it with 2 layers, but you can see through and then explain it. And there's so many maps you can put one on top of the other and make them change. Like you can literally make one more see through than the other. And again, it's a translation service to your client or to your students. They like, wow, I can see through one map into the other map. Oh my goodness, can I teach from that? You know, like, does that? How many words does that just save me? And even then, are the words understood? Are you even listening? But visually, you're looking.
What
You
is
can, your eyes see more than your ears hear, or can hear and conceive. Your eyes see it because we're very visual.
what does ruggedness indicate?
Lumpy, bumpy,
Bumpy.
erratic. You know,
Okay.
definitely can't get the tractor over it.
Okay.
It's like, so we've got the general slope, but there's all these rocks sticking out. Right, so we can do slope, but does it see the ruggedness in the property, or anything that makes it rugged?
Okay.
I mean, you've got plenty of rugged country here that is bloody dangerous. If you want, you're going to die if you run a tractor over it. Right, but it's not just that. It's like, right. So what do we do with that? Well, you better tree it up. You better take it out of. You better change your land use approach. It's just about changing your land use approach. Then we get stuff done right. Instead of just, oh, you've made another mistake and there's another lot of damage. No, we haven't got time. You haven't got time.
Especially if you want to be working from home and directing or helping or supporting people and design, you don't have chance to actually. If you direct someone, maybe there is a lot of mistake and very expensive, especially mainframes. What we do. So anyway, that's the layers what Ben was giving us. So there is slope, which is relating into your facing an energy source. There is some elevation, and he's putting into the very, very interesting program. The one of what he's done for me, this program, is allowed me to do 2D or 3D, which is also very good. But I did need to be scan the land with the drone. So I did the drone pictures, and then I give it to him. So he did 3D mapping for me as well. And also there is other layers.
They're crazy drone programs for 3D. You can't
That's
necessarily
2D.
design with them, but you can demonstrate.
And he doing that for me is 3D.
I still use Google Earth for that purpose. I'm still using Google Earth for my client to fly around landscape and show them stuff with Google Earth. But this is the mapping.
Yeah, so we are here actually
Is
now.
there a particular lens for the 3D drone?
Sorry?
Is there a particular lens that you're using for the drone to do the
No.
3D? It's just
Simple
any-
scanning. I can show you in the afternoon.
Oh.
15 minutes.
Wow.
It's very, very simple. But the 3D model what's allowed me, it's a very interesting. So I have this kind of profile drawing. So when I come from here and I drawing a line to here, they're gonna make me a profile in the side. And if I go into that level or here, they're gonna show for where is on the landscape. So actually they're telling me they're telling me the landscape profile. You see, this is the crop field. This is the channel here. If I put my cursor in here, that's the stream down there. So this bump is this. If I come to here and then see it, okay, where is that level, how does it relating into out to the... So they give you a lot of other things. You can go mad on mapping. Anyway, but what's also very important to, especially for us, to showing people who is interesting or student or course, what is the possibility to holding or using the land as relating into water. So we made a little animation on that, and I'm gonna show you for how is the top field gonna be used by different ponds and different type of ponds. So Ben was help us. The first part is all was his map, and one of my guy, he's a very good graffiti designer, and he put that together, this little video. So we come from the Google Earth. You can see that from the Google Earth. Is no problem. There is a dam, that's where we're digging now. Actually, there is a center here, and that's our land. And we made a little video to actually lying on each other for a different type of maps. So that's the first half is completely Ben's, and also what he done, and you will see it. I'm gonna stop the video there. When you're going through on all of the land, he's animated for how's the water flow on the land.
Yeah, hydrostroke.
So that's the drought and the... So you can see when they're raining, how's the water moving on the property. And actually you can do your own vision for where you want to be hold it, but where you want to be speed it up, where you want to be direct.
So that's showing you the potential.
Yeah. This is the original flow.
That's the right angle to contour flow.
Which you need to understand it. And then you become a designer for, okay, is that the original? Can we change? Can we use it in another way around? Like the stream is not running up to that. Can I become as a designer to changing that which is beneficial for other part of the land of things? This is the more interesting coming when we changing that as a way. Sorry? Again?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Is it Google Earth or the Ben's map?
this is Ben's map.
Yeah, it's an
Ben's, and you can
algorithm
see-
put over the map
I'm
to
gonna
get you an
stop.
animation of water flow.
How useful is, because I can see this is super useful for big scale and watershed, like on a large scale.
The
But on a-
hydrostrobe,
What's that?
this thing's called a hydrostrobe. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean like on a smaller plot, because most of us are probably not going to be working on this scale.
No,
Like
most of
painters.
you will be. Don't kill that way. We will be. Same
If
with
you've
our
got a
town,
quarter of
that's
an
why we
acre,
do.
you could probably
Come on, guys.
get away with it.
Go on, hit it up.
You know, it doesn't matter so much. You know, I usually find that if I'm down to like quarter of an acre, I could probably work on Google Earth, and I don't need that. If the client's more wanting some real accuracy on a quarter of an acre, I can go down to a fifth of a meter contour. I can see the curbs on the side of the road if they want it. If they don't want it, it's not super important, because you can literally survey it by yourself. I can teach you how to survey it by yourself, even with an A-frame, you know, on a quarter of an acre. As you go larger, you're going to have more and more problems. Google Earth would be fine if we want to do the whole of Hungary. If we become smaller than the whole of Hungary, Google Earth is not accurate enough. It's right out. If you go to a small property and using Google Earth, it's very inaccurate compared to LiDAR. But if you go really small, you, the physical person, can do it. But as soon as you go a little bit bigger to like a hectare or more, you're much better off come back into LiDAR. And then as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, there's a point when if you're doing a whole country, 30 meter contours are not bad on Google Earth. And if you're doing a whole country, 30 meter contours are okay. Or a whole, you know, larger than a country. So it's a funny thing that happens in accuracy on the mapping. Most of our middle ground, most of them from small acreage up to large acreage, LiDARs that go. Really, really small, you could probably get away with it just on Google Earth. Really, really
Just small flat, you use the laser level and then you created your own orientation. It's not about the map, it's about what you use for how you use it.
100%, I would say, even on small ground, if I can talk a client into it, I'm going to talk them into LiDAR. Even on a small acreage, even quarter of an acre, because I know that I'm going to give you really accurate design, 100%. There's nobody else's mistakes in there. It's me and LiDAR, and I've got you. You're nailed. I've got you. Right?
You got
But if you, you know, you want me to go Google it, hey, we can do it. It'll probably be okay. You know, I'll get most of it. You know, I'll guarantee most of it. You give me LiDAR, I'm going to nail you. I've got it. I've got you. Right? You're done. Right? I'll guarantee the whole damn thing. Because I know how accurate it is. I've been there. I've been on the ground. I've seen it.
That's the Google Earth public version?
This one, no.
No, not that one. The one you showed before with the glow.
Pro. I use Pro. Pro's cheap. Pro's free. Google Earth Pro's free. I prefer Pro myself because I've used it for a long time than just normal Google Earth. And I'm a jet pilot. I fly you through like a rocket. I can go 3D and get right in there. I can accentuate landscape. I've used it for so long. It's just a tool. You get used to playing the game. It's like a video game.
So he put up the watershed, all of the reach. That yellow line is the reach. So when I started, you see the water gonna come from the reach. You see that moving from there, from the reach. And it's the same time of rainfall. But that water is already on the stream and then the higher is not. The flattest is getting delayed. So you actually time it. And you can see where that's so fast you need to be block it. Or hold it back. When they're very slow, it's probably second priority to work with.
Very useful if you've got a tandem floods and you can show them this. Yeah. You go, look, man, this is what you've got to get ready for.
Now this is the place where actually we droned it up. So that map is a 3D drone, and this place, I'm gonna stop. This is the top of this hill up here. Okay. And this settles, it is that settle, and below that there is a well, and this forest is what you just see in the front of you. And we start creating some kind of design how you regenerate this tiny bit of land in here. It is only about 15-20 hectares. And that's help people to understand what's the possibility. And what you want to do, highest point of the land, you want to be holding water, doesn't it? But you don't have that much catchment. And we call the Turkines Dam, which is really about going in the highest point, and then there's a top dam. And that's the original flow.
But that's not 10 hectares.
It's 20 hectares, 15-20 hectares, yeah.
The trees are that big.
Yeah. And you see a little bit of fiddly-biddly with the contour line because the trees is on the way. But they're telling you where it's dry, so you need support for water, where it's wet, so where you can take it. Now that was it. So here is the lake. And that's the top dam where we're gonna create it. This is gonna be a Turkines. That's a settle, but you can do a settle dam. And there is another type of dam what you can do, that's a reach point dam. Which if you see in that landscape is a reach point, key point where you can put that in. And this is our plan to do it in the next couple of years. Probably 2 months. As soon as my scraper box ready, it's good. Just eat this. So the highest dam is give you a lot of head pressure, but you don't have catchment.
How do you plan the overflow from this system?
Well, they're all swelled up or all actually, if you counted the catchment, how much water from a 24-hour highest rain event and odd plus and relating
It's a
that
mathematical equation
Okay.
to the size of the spillway.
that's the dam.
And how does it on the access?
Huh?
With the spillway,
Spillway is always accessible. And that's where we are. I will stop that here in a minute. So this is a top dam, and now this is underwater, but only temporary. So we're gonna go for permanent underwater that much.
there are fish ponds that we're talking about.
That's the fish pond. Yeah,
top
that's
one
the
there,
first.
where we walked the other day.
Yeah, and this is gonna be the last one in here. So that's the valley, but what you see, it's actually it a little bit zoom out for how you work with the landscape pattern.
Could you go back a bit, please?
To where?
When it started to draw out? Yeah.
So that's your original flow.
How did you get that 3D? Is that the drone with
As
Ben?
drone, yes, drone scan, yeah.
So, so graphic designer, Ben, and drone.
Yeah.
3 things combined will give you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect, but it's pretty close. It's close enough to get a really good concept. Next stage is to tree up all those swales in the animation.
Yeah.
And they
That's for the
disappear under
water
trees.
holding structure as a biomass, because the fourth form of the water is the biomass. You and me and the vegetation and the
I just did it in the swale down there.
oh yeah.
Yeah. All of those turn into one of those swales.
Yeah, your bump is up. And this technology is one of the biggest yield. Look at yourself how interesting you are. If the people can see the possibility there, we've done it.
Yeah.
If you can go for show them the vision and the possibility, it's sold, it's there. And we need to use that to actually encouraging more people to do it fast enough to this is our job, I think, encourage people to do it.
Do you think you can share this video with us? Because I think this video just sums up the concept so
Yeah, no
so
problem.
well.
Is this on the Hive website?
Sorry?
Is this on the Hive? You know your website, the Hive?
No, it's not on that, but I can put it up.
Can you share it with us?
Huh?
Could you share it with us?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
At least you come.
And
come
we
back in
build
3
this
years.
dam.
Where is the dam?
And we build this dam. It's not ready yet. We have the dam wall. If you want to, this evening you can walking out there and then you can see it. It's not done yet. It was an earthwork course and it's a little bit taking a longer time. What we expected, I didn't get a big excavator and then the bulldozer was soaked down there, so there was big machinery to take it out. That was difficult, but we will get it done. So this is a valley dam. We have a turkey nest, which is a top. We have a settle and a reach point. There's only one left. It's a keyhole control dam,
And you
which
got
we
it. You
building.
put it in now.
And this is gonna be a possibility. When you have the landscape as a hill country, you're limited by it is exactly the same. So when they cut it down, the erosion is start to create it and they start to regrow, so you don't see in the map and no one care.
From this dam, are you trying to pump it up back? That it's gonna
Come
work
into the
well.
minute. Just walk before you run. So this is gonna be my catfish then.
Sorry, I know it has been already asked, but could you explain once more, like, if you have like this 100 years event, what happens, like when you're in this system, like where does the overflow go?
Which one?
Like if you have like a huge amount of water coming down.
You have to work on a mathematical calculation that accounts for that, and I can give that to you.
But the system itself, like the blue lines, will take that. Like,
Yeah.
Like from the
We
top?
just Daytona Farm just proved it, but most of our designs we've done that have had 10-year events, 50-year events, catastrophes in the landscape, we've had no damage.
Okay, there will be no additional.
No, if you pay attention to the calculation.
Okay.
So it's a very simple calculation, but it might sound a little bit complex, and it relates to area, right, to rainfall. So you need to know the area of catchment. That's what comes down at right angle to contour towards your water harvesting system.
That's the yellow line for me, the watershed.
Well, that's the whole lot, right? Right. So each one of these dams has a catchment, except for the turkey nest, which is at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 1 hectare of land that's catching to your dam, right? Let's just say it's 1 hectare, 10,000 square meters. And now you need to know what the largest 24-hour occurrence has been or is likely to be.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose you get 1 meter of rain in 24 hours, which you're not likely to in Hungary, even on a 100-year event, right? It would be 1,000 millimeters in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So every square meter of land would catch 1,000 liters of water, because 1 millimeter of rain on 1 square meter is 1 liter. So you can calculate whatever your meteorological department or your historical department or what, you can actually look back in time now. There are people doing it saying, that was a 10-year event, that was a 50-year event. We haven't had a 100-year event since records began, but we think it's going to be this big when the 100-year comes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called your 24-hour occurrence. It's got a name. It's the maximum 24-hour occurrence. You times the millimeters against the square meters in the catchment. Do you understand me?
Yes.
If you get 1 meter with 1 liter, one meter, square meter, with 1 millimeter of rain, it's 1 liter. Metric is really easy. Good luck in America. You're definitely going to need a computer, right? Or a good calculator. But for metric, it's easy. 1 millimeter of rain on 1 square meter is 1 liter. Any calculator on a mobile phone can do this. Now, get that calculation. Catchment area to 24-hour occurrence. Square meters in the catchment, millimeters in the 24-hour occurrence. Times them together. That's your maximum volume you've got to deal with. Divide it by 24. There's your hourly rate. Divide that by 60. That's your 1 minute rate. Divide it by 60 again. That's your 1 second rate. How many liters per second have you got to displace? When you come down to seconds, a human being can understand it. At hourly rate, it looks monster. At a minute rate, it still looks pretty damn big. But when you pull it down to 1 second, you'll find it's only a few hundred liters. Now, how do I handle a few hundred liters of water every second? Pretty easy engineering, that one. At that level, at that time scale, how many liters per second am I dealing with on this spillway? And I've just give you a calculation as if it's a sheet of glass. But at the 100-year event, it nearly is a sheet of glass because everything's saturated and there's no absorption left. The thing's running like crazy. It's not quite a sheet of glass, but it's nearly a sheet of glass. You know what I mean? The catchment is nearly 100% runoff. It's not quite, but it's pretty close at the 100-year. So, what do I want? I want that much water going over my spillway? It needs to be 5 meters long, 10 meters long. How long is that spillway to have like that much water, that much water? It's whatever you want. You could take the whole Danube, the whole river Danube. You could take it over a level sill, 1 millimeter thick. It's just a length thing now.
Mm-hmm.
How many liters per second go past Budapest in the Danube every second? You could do this for the school kids. They need to know this actually, just to get their heads around something. How many liters per second go under that big bridge in the Danube? Per second. Okay, give me the length of the level sill spillway that would give you 10 millimeters of water. Or 1 millimeter of water. Or whatever you want. There's no reason why school kids couldn't understand that. If you get your head around that, you can design any level sill way you want. And there will never be any erosion. Ever. And if you've got soft sand or you've got a really difficult geology, well, concrete the damn thing. Just put a little concrete slab along there, perfectly level. You know when you go into a shopping centre and you have fancy landscaping and they've put in a waterfall and it's a level sheet of water going over a stainless steel edge and you see this lovely level sheet of water going? That's a level sill. Level pacifies water. You just got to repeat it in your head. Level pacifies water. You run water downhill really fast, you get erosion. You take it over a level surface, it won't even move the grass. Make sure it doesn't choke up though. Make sure you keep it unchoked. Even long grass will choke a spillway. So my boys at the farm, where I have multiple levels, 28 dams, multiple swells, lots and lots of level sills. As rainy season starts to come, which is now, all these untrained young people we've got there, I'm going, with the guys who are trained and my map, you get out there and you mow every level sill. I want it like a lawn. It's one excuse for a lawn. I want that mowed right down, right now, because it's coming. Because our rainy season builds to the end and then the big ones start to come. And you just make sure your level sills are all nicely maintained. I've had crazy stories about stuff like this. Crazy. Did a whole eco-village in Queensland. And the civil engineers argued with me tooth and nail. They were arguing all the damn time about swales can't possibly hold water, soak water and discharge water. They can't go both ways. And I'm saying they can. And you can't plant them into trees. I said I can. That's what they're about. And they were paying me $44 an hour at the time. I always remember. It's like, bloody hell. $44 an hour. It wasn't much. And I'm like, okay. And they just, the designers at Eco Village had taken their permaculture course. They'd been to Village Homes, Davis, California, which I've been to now and documented. Eco Village of history is wonderful. You should go there. It's a pilgrimage for permies. And they said, Geoff, just argue. Give it to them. Don't hold back. Don't back up. Just give it to them. And I just kept giving it to them. And they would just hated me. And I said, no. You're going to put level sills on the swells. You're going to put level sills on all the dams. But the runoff from the hardware, the runoff from the eco village, it's an old eco village now. It's a prize-winning eco village. I went there the other week. I was blown away. It was just like, wow. Nadia and I spent days and days in this arguments over the design of the eco village. And God bless the creator, because we just finished. Scrapers running, bare soil, a little bit of planting, not much, a little bit of mulch, not much, and we had 14 inches of rain overnight. We had a catastrophe. We had a nightmare. One of the designers actually died since then. He got killed in an accident, but I rang him up. It was like emergency services. You couldn't even get to Queensland, South East Queensland. I'm in northern New South Wales. It's a 3-hour drive. I can't even get there. The roads are closed. I ring the guys up just after dawn. I says, what the hell happened? What happened? What happened? Like, shit, you know, like, what's happened? You know, like, because it's bare soil, big stuff. Nothing. I said, what do you mean, nothing? He said, I said, you've been there? I said, we were out there at dawn. I said, what the hell's happened? And I said, nothing. I said, really nothing. He said, man, Geoff, it all filled overnight. It all emptied in the morning. All the dams are full to the spillway and every swell's drained. I said, it can't be. He said, there's nothing. It looks perfect, Geoff. I said, God, you're kidding me. I said, there's emergency services. The roads are closed. The creek that banded it, Currumbin Creek's blown away with water flow. And it's perfect. I couldn't believe him. I was just like, God, what? It was 11 o'clock in the morning before we could get there through the road problems. Nadia and I walked that whole site from one end to the other, right on the tail drain, very last tail drain. Probably lost about 10 litres of soil. I could have brought it from Zaytuna Farm and given it to him.
You don't give soil anyone.
But it's like nothing, not a thing. And it was raw. Now it's covered in fruit trees. Now you can't even see the damn swells. Now it's a thriving eco village with an organic restaurant and organic supermarket and most beautiful thing now. can't see what we did now. You can't even see it. It's all under, like, you know.
They're called mainframe.
And
Where you are now, actually.
and I can't help it, but like, man, the next meeting with the engineers, boy, was I smirking. I was just like, yeah, come on then, give us something else we can't friggin' do. Come on then, you know, like, bring it on, you know, like, what do you want? More than 14 inches overnight? You know, we haven't even got any vegetation on the damn thing, you know, like, so shut up, right? But your civil engineers don't want to do something different. Have a look out there. The world is full of civil engineering work. They're oversupplied with work. They don't want to do anything risky. Partner with living systems. They're concrete freaks. They want to run everything off as quick as possible. The fastest route with the least friction and in the least time is their system. The opposite of us. You want to take the longest route over the most distance, over the most time, moving as slowly as possible with as much passive friction as possible. We want friction, but really gentle friction against lots of living things. But their system is, let's get it out of here quick. As quickly as possible, as fast as possible, with minimum friction. That's what that drain is there. We're working next to drains that are dead straight. We walked through an ancient system that was all passive friction, moving very, very, very slowly. That thing there, whatever that damn thing was, I'd love to know what it was. Whatever that is,
Yeah.
whatever all this was, it was moving as slowly as possible, over the most time, over the most distance,
To benefit.
with friction, very passive friction against many, many diverse living things to support some kind of ancient Hungarian culture. Now we got that, bang. That's civil engineering there, whop. You know, that's not going to help. It's just going to that's centralizing everything into the same disaster. And it's hard to get people to change, especially when they're overemployed. Your civil engineers are overemployed. They've got loads of work building all those crazy things out there. I mean, it's great what we can do. It's wonderful what we can do if we could do the right thing with that can-do attitude. You know, you see the concrete of Budapest, you see the concrete of all this stuff. We could design it. We could grab that and direct it into living systems. But they don't want to partner with living systems. We actually, where I live in Australia, it's illegal not to have a grey water reed bed in the rural area, not in town, but in the rural, it's illegal. You can't have a toilet or a grey water system leaving a house without going through a reed bed. It's not possible. It's a very advanced shire because it's had lots of old hippies influencing the academics. The hippies who didn't die of drug overdoses and violence or alcoholism or whatever became academic hippies and influenced the local universities and then the council and the government. But, you know, try and get a plumbing union to talk about working with plants. Plumbers don't work with plants. Plumbers don't want anything to do with plants. Right? To try and get like biology and plumbing partnered up. In America, you know, try and influence the plumbing union. Do you think they're short of work? No, they're not short of
A
work.
couple of very good marriage, but you can accelerate. One is plumbers and biologists. The other one is beekeeper and gardener. They don't talk each other. But they're actually
Cattle farmers and
they
foresters.
need to be,
It's a
yeah,
perfect
farmers and
marriage.
foresters. Yeah.
That you're really good cattle farmer, really good organic grazier, or anyone who uses compost tea stimulating soil fertility in grazing ends up going, I've got enough space to put forestry in as well, and it will help my cattle. Like, but you don't get graziers talking to foresters much. It's a perfect marriage. But this is what we've done. We've separated everything apart. And actually,
So far, this is how far we went for the mainframe of the water holding structure. Some of them is there, some of them is on the way. This is the one what we're doing now. And I might be we drew up the plan of this field, no? But this is halfway there. We're gonna recover it in the next couple of months. The next one I'm gonna be put up this one in here. Because you remember I said the government was pumping the well water up to that hill, but we didn't have that hill, so I'm gonna be creating a water storage here and pumping from the bottom to up to make sure I have enough head pressure, so I can use that. Turkey nest, this one is after, and then the settle is the big one that need a little bit of planning and complication, and the valley. So this is gonna be a water holding bodies in here. Yeah.
Question is, as far as I know, clay settles down mostly in the valleys due to erosion and sediment.
Yeah.
Build-up. What if in a ridge there you don't find enough clay? Can you still have that issue?
Get clay.
Get clay?
Get clay. You have I have source in the valley and not that far. Trucks is not that expensive. I have all the machinery.
How do you
Because I have the scraper box is a very very good thing. So you have it in the back of the garage. 15 cubic meter can fit into the box and then can drive 30 kilometer an hour any kind of land. That go up to the hill, no problem.
Also, are you sealing any of these dams with geotextiles, or are you just leaving them?
I try to be not. I using local resource and local. But you see how much clay up in the small.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, you do often find the clay in the ridge and the hilltop.
This one.
It's often a little bit lower down, but we often find it. Surprisingly.
Let me tell you this one. After when we finish, if you want to be walk out, I can get you out there. This one, in here and in up here, there was a sand and gravel quarry. So under this valley, no one expected for we get a clay, and then we get a clay, huh? A very good clay. Now one of our issue is some of the water line actually passing through in that land, which is have so much gravel, so I have to be dig it out and then plug it and then put it back, and the dam is will filled up. Now it's leaking, and also the side of the dam wall is a vegetation there, so I have to scrape it down, and it's a bigger operation. This is 110 meter backflood and a 15 meter dam wall. It's 10 times, nearly 10 times bigger backflood holding water, which is very good. If you do 3 times, it start to be good and successful. So if you have a 10 meter dam wall and then you can backflood 30 meters, you are going good. This one is 15 meter and then 110 or 120 meter going into the back. You will see this is massive actually. It's gonna be a lovely catfish habitat. And why is that? It's dark. Also there on the forest. And I just talking to yesterday with the hunters, and I didn't translate to you, but the hunter said it, you can't really take home the wild boar, the pig, because there's the African pig disease and stuff like that. The regulation, you can't really bring it home, and then you cannot really process it. So they're always dumping somewhere. And I said to him, it's like, if you hunting around, just chuck it into my water, the catfish gonna be eating. And I turned the wild boar to catfish. It's free food for them.
I wanted to ask if you have the pond there, what you just showed. And
This one?
Yeah, and you have also the overflow coming around to your.
Spilling in here,
Yeah.
and then
So-
going to the big lake.
Yeah, because there was a swale which was.
I was gonna swear as a possibility of how we connect this land. That's not on contour line, but
Oh,
actually this dam overflow,
Yeah.
it's 10 meter higher than when you standing.
Yeah.
So I can get a 2 bar head pressure from here if I bring it down. This and this place is not on contour line. This one
Alright.
and that one is, you see that one and that down there is not on contour line. This is he drew up as a connection between the water storage element, and we must pipe it up. This is swale definitely, This is swale. They're showing you for how you can do it, but that and that is not a swale. So pipe from here to up there, it's very it's many used. Bring down water, bring up water, and but this level in here, it is 10 meter higher where we standing.
Okay, but you're planning to leave the water running off to the big lake, where otherwise, what the main water catchment from this lake is actually that your valley, which is your property, but still.
Yeah, but in that overflow,
exactly.
it's gonna become back to me. And this is a very good back and forth with the friends of neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
to say, and I'm walking up and then recharge you. But the overflow, you give me a permission to actually use that.
Yeah, and maybe you have a possibility there if there's an owner change that you can still.
Yeah, there is a possibility, but it's. I mean, even if they change, everyone born good. We just need to be actually told them for listen, we must do this way. Or even if it's not, you can see finishing that little animation because just cutting down also. One dam, that's a valley dam, Turkiness, a settle, a ridge point, and that also is a valley wetland management, which is informed. And you just need some kind of renewable energy to get and pump it back the water. There can be wind, there can be solar, there can be anything. And if you pump back to that point, you're done, just running. Yeah. And how many they're like 20, 30, 50 hectares, they've been beneficial for all of this water supply. Even if I using the mainline electricity to pump it up there, they're definitely gonna be beneficial for all of this fish growth, anything. But there was something there.
Just a quick question: do you have a method to determine the thickness of the clay layer? It depends if you can storage or let it soak into. Do you have any method?
It's not thickness; it's a percentage which is telling you. So above 40, there is above 40% of the clay that can hold.
Yep.
And also depending what is beside it. This is silty clay, so that can hold better. If they're sandy clay, it's getting a little bit more difficult. If they're gravel, you have to have a higher clay layer. And to holding the dam, the recommended minimum 3 layers. So you do 3 levels and compact it and compact it and compact it.
But
You put a 30-40 centimeter compacted again. A reason for that, because water level is always come up and down in seasonally. So if you have the edge and then the sunlight is gonna be cracked, but only crack in the top layers, and then the bottom one is not. So you make it much more difficult and protected that.
How many layers do you have to have?
I recommend a minimum 3, but how many you can depending of the situation. This one is groundwater. Sorry, but this one is groundwater, so that is a bit easier.
Yeah.
So the stream level is gonna set me up.
Yeah, but if you are thinking about the turkey nets,
Yeah.
them at the top, so how do you calculate the amount you have to take there?
About
I
a
mean
half a
clay.
meter. If I don't have it, the
Yes,
clay.
if you have
If
don't
I don't have it, and if they're very gravelly or sandy, I will calculate a half a meter very good clay. And in the first one or the second one, I will mix it off with the sand, and then trying to the last layer for a very good clay. And it's like 20 centimeter compacted, 20 centimeter compacted, 20 centimeter, and then you can seal it after that. Sooner or later, all of the dam is gonna be sealed. You can use many techniques: animals, plant, bentonite, things like that.
But actually, do you want to store the water up there, or just let soak in, or?
I want to show people for this is how you do it in the highest point.
It's a tank.
It's a water tank actually.
An earth tank.
And more above 10 cubic meter, they're not worth to use liner and concrete tanks. It's better to you build it with earthwork,
Cheaper.
cheaper and more successful. And this place is actually really a demonstration. So I want to put every possible earthwork and many techniques in it. Even you're not gonna be use it in a farm, all of them. But then different people can come, like Zoli is flatland, and then somebody from hill country. So how you do?
And actually, sorry.
I come in a minute. Yeah.
Sorry for the just the last one. Promise. And the spillway, I mean the swales, you won't insulate with clay. Just
No. That's purposely soaking system. So slowing, decentralizing, spreading.
So when you connect a swale to a dam,
yeah.
you get two water lines. When it's pouring with rain and the swale's full and overflowing on the level sill spillway somewhere along the swale, and then when it stops raining, that depth of water in the swale soaks down. So the dam has a high water line when it's pouring with rain and a low water line when it's not raining. So you will get two shorelines on a dam connected to a swale.
Okay.
That's a little bit different to, for people to conceptualize if they're used to just having dams with one water line. You've got a varying water line. But it won't be for long. It won't be at full height for long usually. Stops raining, soaks in. Unless you're different climates, like wet, dry tropics, you might have your swales full all wet season. Or bottomland. A lot of time we put swales into bottomland, wetland, and they become canals. So they're not really, you build a swale but get a canal. That's a bonus. Because normally if you build a canal, you've got to seal it. And it's much more expensive to build a canal and seal it than it is to build a swale. So if you build a swale, it's cheap earthworks, but you get a canal, because you got a bonus.
You see the swale, it's an hour what we done yesterday.
If that turned into a little canal, that'd be like what cost us an hour or two's work. If we intentionally built that as a little canal, it would take a day or two to build because we'd have to line it with clay.
On the back, and that's what we're building there.
I've had older properties where we put in multiple dams and swales, and then years later, like 5-6 years later, someone's put in a swale lower down in the system, and it turned into a canal within 1 or 2 days. It filled up with water and stayed full on the side of the hill. That's impossible. You can't do that. There it is. Years later, what filled up with water, never went down. What is that? You can't put a swale on the side of the hill and it turns into a canal. You can. If you got multiple swales uphill that were put in a few years before, because they are sponging down, and you hit a point where it just leaks into the bottom swale you put in now and just becomes a canal. That was a change. My whole reality changed when I saw that happen. It was like, oh shit, really? That could happen? Well, you can't see it if you did it all at once. But because it was done later in a time frame, like 5 years later, they put a swale in, called me in and said, Geoff, we got a problem. I put the swale in on the lower system after you put those swales in 5 years ago, and it just filled up with water within a day, and it's not going down. That doesn't sound like a problem. That sounds like an asset. Let me come and have a look. It's like, oh shit, wow, really? That's going to happen in the future? I could jet ski around the side of the hill.
Could they do that if you had put them all in at the same time? Could the bottom one still fill up after a few years?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it? I mean, it probably would. I mean, the bottom one, I've actually had it happen in a different sequence. And then once you've seen stuff, because it's just like, okay, I put design in, design's one thing, but then what is the evolution over the time?
Share with you.
I've actually had that happen in a mentally handicapped daycare center, which was a beautiful job. I was working with mentally handicapped daycare facility, and there's adults who have a mental age of about 4 years old being cared for in a daycare center, and they get very occupied if you give them permaculture to play with. They do very simple jobs, and they do better jobs than we do. That's the funny thing that I learned about that one. Very old geriatric people and disabled people do better work than we do because they're regular. These mentally handicapped daycare adults, we gave them very simple jobs that they never failed to do 5 days a week. One gentleman, his job was to fill up the banana circles and papaya circles and make sure they were always full. And he did. That's all he did. One lady's job was just to look after the ducks and poultry. 5 days a week, every day, that's what she did. And they were perfect. One gentleman, his job was to water the nursery plants. And he's mentally handicapped. So they had to stand in there with a hose and move his hand. And then every 5 minutes, they'd move him. And then every 5 minutes, well, after a week, he would move his hand, but he wouldn't move. So they'd move him. And after another couple of weeks, he would move his hand, and he'd move every 5 minutes exactly. And he did that every day. We had the perfect nursery. We had perfect banana circles. We had a perfect food forest. Everything was perfect because they were doing something really simple, and they were absolutely regular. It was their life. We put multiple swales in. We picked up the nursery runoff water and all this stuff. The bottom swale started to grow reeds and fill up with water after a couple of years and become like a little wet, swampy swale. So we realised it was a very dry, rocky hill in an area of Queensland in Australia that's not fertile, faced the wrong way, faced away from the sun, southwest, and was shale, grew very stunted eucalypts. Wasn't good ground at all. This thing turned into heaven. And we picked up all the water off the car park and run it into the system, a lot of hardware. And then we realised we could put a pond in at the bottom, which we had to fence because these people potentially drown. We actually kind of got forced into putting a duck pond in because we could see we had water that was never there before. So this is the thing, you end up with water you can't see it, but later you realise, wow, this thing has evolved into running water. This thing has evolved into its own little wetland. Now what's the advantage? Well, we can put another feature in and hold that water and do something else. There's these evolutions in time. You and I won't be able to see it in our lifetime. Some of these young people will see it. This is going to go on for generations if we get going.
How big a plot was the land for that daycare or something?
Probably a hectare. But we had a car park.
Yeah.
You know, one of the first things I walked in when I remember, it was students of mine. Actually, the very first student in one of my very first courses, my very first PDC, which I taught by myself, I was scared stiff. It's about 8 students. One of them was the wages clerk for the sugar mill in Bundaberg, which Jilly would know Bundaberg. Right? It's a big sugar cane area. He'd worked at the sugar mill since he was 16 years old. He was 48 years old, and he took his 2 weeks holiday to take my first PDC. I finished on the Friday. On Monday morning, he rang me up. I live somewhere else in Australia, a few hours away. I live in the Sunshine Coast, and he was in Bundaberg. He rang me up and said, Geoff. I said, what's up, Greg? He says, Geoff, he said, I've had enough. I took your course. I can see what I want to do. I've been a gardener all my life. I've done it. I've made the move. I said, what have you done? He said, I handed my notice in. I'm not at the other end of the phone. Shit, what have I done? Like 32 years in one job, and you've handed your notice in? I was like, oh crap. And it's just got worse ever since. Changing people. That was my first PDC. He was divorced, and he met another lady who was divorced, and she was a daycare mentally handicapped daycare project manager So they got together and got married, and she'd taken a course too. So they ran this daycare center, right? And they set up a property in this area. It's called Gympie, Gympie, Helltown, northern end of the Queensland coast. So now, and her daughter took course, and so it's like families taking the course, getting involved. And she was the first student I lost in the field. She died in Rwanda of cerebral malaria because she was taking doxycycline and didn't get to the hospital in time. So if you get malaria, you want to know. My advice is do not take doxycycline because it can mask the symptoms of malaria. Don't take anything. Maybe take homeopathics if you want, but don't take drugs. You want to know when you've got malaria, and you know. I've had malaria twice, and you sure do know. You need someone to save you and get you on the bus and get you out of there, because you can't do it. You will lie there and die. You will leave me alone. I'm quite okay to die.
You want to die.
You want to die. It's the first time you really realise you maybe have a soul, because you keep telling yourself, "I'll leave, just leave me. I'll leave this. I'll leave this body behind. I don't care." And I think, who's talking to who here? Who the hell's talking about leaving? Like, I think it was me. This is me, or is this not me? Who's me? Who's leaving here? You know, because you're actually delirious. It feels like your bones are going to break from shivering. It feels like you're going to break bones from shivering. And in the next few minutes, you can feel like your head's like a pressure cooker, and it's going to explode with temperature. It's so hot. You're so hot one minute, and you're so cold the next. It's like you just want to leave. You just want to die. So you need someone to get you on the bus. But there's cerebral malaria. You haven't got long. You've got probably 2 days to get to the hospital, and otherwise you're done. You're not going to make it. So this young girl didn't make it because of that. She was remote. You can be in a remote place, and many reasons you can't get the bus, or you can't get out, or you're landlocked, or there's flooding, or something. You know, there's many reasons that you just go not going to make it. And all they're going to do when you get to the hospital is say, take 2 Lariam and lie down. That's all they're going to do. So really, just take some Lariam with you. Lariam is a malaria drug that works very well. But if you take it for 3 months, you wreck your kidneys. Now, they used to tell you to take it. I took it for 3 months on my first trip to the Amazon, but you don't want to do that. Because it's typical pharmaceutical. It stops you getting malaria, but it wrecks your kidneys. So that's typically pharmaceuticals are great at doing that. Save you this way, kill you that way. It's like, what do you want? Which way you want to go? Yeah. So that was sort of a tragedy.
Is it
and then
prevention?
I've lost a few more since then in the field. Young people just getting out there and wanting to change the world, and very brave and courageous, and get caught in gunshot wounds, or they get caught in car accidents and whatever. But that was, this was, so it was her parents on that site that I saw this thing happen. It was like, wow, look at this water coming out of this shaly hill. It's growing bloody bulrushes in the bottom swale, where you never believe you could put a dam. We got a pond, beautiful pond. We did have to fence it. We couldn't have the mentally handicapped adults going near the pond, but beautiful stuff, So you see evolutions of events happening in front of you, and I'm only seeing mainframe. Him and I, we're only seeing mainframe. Some of the young people now, the people in their late teens and 20s, when they're 60, my goodness, you wouldn't even be able to understand what they could see. We can walk onto a property and see mainframe. They'll be able to see evolutionary changes we couldn't even imagine. There's no way you could see it or understand it now. If you could talk about it, people wouldn't believe you anyway. You know, we're just seeing the first evolutionary change of event. There's probably 5 fractals, more, and maybe even more, of what refinements could happen. How would you even understand it? Like, you wouldn't even understand it right now. That's the optimism of it. That's the great side of it. I see young people like Sam Parker Davis, who's been here teaching with 40, 50-year-old wisdom, you know, and he's only in his 20s. Can't believe the skill of communication. There's young people coming through, amazing. And they can see through this. We started them here, they're already there. Yeah. They're moving to the next level. He's helped me with Sam, get him out there in front of hard ground.
Hit them hard, finishing gentle. But back to your question, I think the sphere is doing, it's holding back the rainfall. You have your rainfall and holding back the water. So by over time, Geoff said it's 7 years, but sometimes it's earlier. When you catching the rainfall, so the water supply, that's the answer why is the canal there in the bottom. Just hold back by time. This is what we need to do. Is the fourth element of our design, permaculture design, is a time element, which we work with it and try imagining the succession of anything, the land succession, ecosystem succession, or what he just said is a human structure, is a succession coming up in the 20s and the 30s. They're gonna be better than us. Thanks God. Hopefully faster as well. I challenge them. I'm very fast. And not 3 years, 2 years. They just recognize.
Well, we're using that tech. Imagine the tech that's available.
Yeah.
There's tech out there that's not being released yet.
Can you repeat the name of that inspirational pilgrimage site that you said?
Yeah.
Oh, you can look it up on Google Earth. Village Homes, Davis, California.
How about the one that was in Queensland that you helped design?
Currumbin Eco Village.
Currumbin?
Currumbin Eco Village is the one I was talking about with the civil engineers. But Village Homes, Davis, California, and Michael Corbett is the town planner. He's still alive. He didn't spread around America like we hoped because he wouldn't get on a plane. Because his football team died in a plane crash when he was at school, but he recently started flying again. He's in his second marriage, but anyway, I interviewed him, and my video on Village Homes, California is called Food Forest Suburb. Now, I'll send you, with Esther's help, a ridiculous amount of videos, including ones you've never seen, which are in Vimeo. Food Forest Suburb is in there. I mean, my jaw dropped open. I thought it was probably a done deal because we've talked about Village Homes, Davis, California for a long time as the first real swaled eco village. They designed the swales first. So the swales designed the access, designed the roads. I mean, the houses in Village Homes, Davis, California are 15 to 20% more valuable than surrounding homes in the areas, suburbs around them. It was just a cornfield. I start from the cornfield across the road and walk into it. I do a very dramatic startup in the video. And the turnover rate is 1 to 2%. Nobody wants to sell. You know when you got real estate right, nobody wants to sell. It doesn't turn over. Real estate agents make money out of our unstable society. The more real estate agents you have in your town or your city, the less stable that city is. You can actually gauge the stability of a city by the lack of real estate agents because nobody wants to sell. Not a funny thing. There are lots of things you can reverse like that. Bill always reckoned airbags wouldn't work to slow people down. What you need is impaling spikes. That'll really slow you down, you know. Like Bill often said funny things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Village Homes is old now. It's 45 years old. I couldn't believe it. When I pulled up in the car park, I got out of the car and stood straight on fruit. I stood straight on jujubes, got stuck on my feet. And then I was there 2 days and I was continuously cleaning fruit off my shoes. I've never been anywhere when I've got so much like mud. I had that much fruit on my shoes. There's just fruit everywhere. The whole thing's fruit and fruit trees and the best tasting fruit ever. I often get asked to eat fruit in front of camera, and sometimes it's not good, but I still smile for the camera. This was awesome. This was, you just wanted to eat another one. And like 40 years of those trees chasing that swell water down, I'm sure they were very, very rich mineral, rich fruit. I eat a lot of fruit off trees, and it's like, wow. This suburb, the byproduct of this suburb is food forest paradise. That the human settlement was the reason it's there. The design of the human settlement created the food forest. Awesome. I mean, it should be replicated. It's a crime that it hasn't been.
Yes, I'm very interested in such things because I think those methods and concepts have to be applied for human settlements.
We've all been frustrated with that requirement. I've all been frustrated with it. Unfortunately, the control elements are not in our favour. But there's more and more interest in like eco-village type stuff, and it's there. Just use Google Earth. It's on Google Earth. You don't have to do anything. Village Homes, Davis, bang, comes up. I was very lucky. I interviewed in my video. I interviewed Michael Corbett in Village Homes, outside his old house. He doesn't live there anymore. And we're sitting in the verge in the food forest. He's being interviewed. It was just such a privilege. And I got a thing out of him that I never heard, and I was like, what? Why haven't I heard this? Like a lot of places, Davis, California flooded in recent years, and it's unseasonably large flood. And the stormwater of Davis couldn't handle the flood. This is really interesting for me from an engineering point of view. I tracked the earthworks. I tracked all the swales when I was there for 2 days, and I found where the swale